Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad you're here this Monday morning. Got a special guest here to start off a big week. Got a good show set up. So let's get started with our weather brought to us by Gulf Coast Air Conditioning. Drew Pollard and his hard-working crew up here in Southport. Speaking weather-wise, high 67, low 47. Should be a nice day, a decent day today. Again, the water temperature is hanging in there around 67 degrees. We've had several days, well, going back to last Thursday, last Wednesday. So we're going to talk more about that as the week progresses, and we'll see about the Spanish. The moon, our Monday moon phase, we got the full moon coming up this Thursday. We're waxing up right now. And it's actually, you know, when the full moon comes this time of year, it's sort of full on Thursday, Friday, and a little bit on Saturday. So technically they're saying it's going to be full on Friday, but it's going to really be full Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So that'll be some good warm, just good light if you're outside doing some stuff. Of course, now you have all that night vision. You don't need the moon as much as we used to. Our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. Right here on 23rd Street, looking at a low tide this morning, 603, and a high this evening at 827. And a wind coming out of east, southeast at about 12. Again, in double figures as we expect for the month of March. Okay, let's take a break. We'll come back with our special guest. Okay, welcome back, and welcome to a familiar face here on Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning.
Paramore.
Good
morning,
to have
you, buddy.
Been a while.
We've been missing you.
I've missed you all, but I've kept up with you though. Yeah.
Listen, before the show, we were going over different things, and I cannot believe his memory on different shows we have. We talked about when we released a carp years ago at Deer Point Lake, and you're talking Mason. Of course, you were talking about him. You noticed he was that little and talking about him being that big.
Now he's probably what, 6 foot now?
Yeah.
Or close to it.
Yeah, 6'1", I think. But yeah. So anyway. He's a loyal viewer to remember, and he mentioned all kinds of other things I had on the show the last couple of months. So, very loyal viewer.
Well, you know, years ago when I was working, I was on once a month religiously. So
I know.
You know, I got used to it. So
I know. We miss having FWC on, like when you and Stan would come on. That was some really good times, really good information.
Yeah, it was.
We miss that.
Yep, I know.
So, what have you been up to?
Well, I've been trying to. I've been laying floor right the last day or two, but I'm trying to catch up with getting hunting season out of the way, deer season, and then getting geared up for turkey. So there's, you know, the deer season ended the end of February. Of course, I didn't hunt that last week of muzzleloader because it got so hot and it was windy, so I didn't go. So I kind of was done at the end of general gun. And so I had we have 6 weeks between the end of deer and spring turkey. So it's time to get things done at home so you can justify when you got. So I got a bunch of this flooring, laminate flooring that I've been laying the last couple of days. And, you know, I could go to work for somebody and lay that stuff as long as it's straight runs. I mean, you can rock and roll.
Yeah.
But when it comes to corners and molding and getting those cuts, you know, right, and then you go over and you spend an hour just trying to get something to fit. So it's not my forte.
I'll tell you, I cut it twice and it's still too short.
And sometimes you cut it and not think it through, and you've just ruined the whole plank, you know.
I know.
But anyway, had a pretty decent deer season, had a lot of fun, got to hunt with a good friend of mine that lives in South Florida. He came up with his family, and 3 different weekends or, you know, days off, and he killed a buck, his daughter killed a buck.
Awesome.
And I killed a buck over the course of the season, and we had a few doe tags, so we had a pretty good year. Yes. Can't complain. Of course, anytime you can get outside and watch and sit and unwind, you know, it's not a bad day in the woods, I don't think, I think you mentioned before. So after deer season got over, I went bass fishing a couple of times. A friend of mine lives in Washington County, and we fished Pate Pond a couple of different trips. But the water was cold, and you know, the fish were sluggish, but I did manage to catch a bass or two, and it's a pretty pond. You know, it's just I don't know anything about the lake because I've never been on it, but we tried it and we caught a few fish and tried to catch some speckled perch or crappie, but couldn't find any. So right now it's we're 2 weeks out from spring gobbler.
Right around the corner, isn't it? I know, to get about your bass fishing, I know we still call them all this group of ponds. I've always called them the Sand Hill Ponds in North Bay and Washington County. They're challenging, yet sometimes they're very productive. I've seen some great pictures come out of there, and then I've talked to a lot of people just saying that, and look, it's really interesting.
Especially, you know, with the clarity of some of them and the depth. I know in some ponds, and the lease I used to be on up at Old Moody's pasture, Big Blue Lake, you could catch nice big brim, but they were on the bottom in 30, sometimes 30, 40 foot of water. And you'd go out in the middle and you'd go all the way down there. And then when they came up, they had the prettiest yellow hint on their fins. It's not like some you see a lot of, but to catch them in the shallows and all was hard. But it's the clarity and of course the weight of your line and the bait you use, and it's like learning anything.
Often I'm wondering, how'd they taste? Were they good tasting fish?
Oh yeah.
I've always heard that because of the water clarity and all.
Yeah.
And that's just the opposite of fishing for brim in a farm pond or up in a slough.
Right.
You know, you're fishing for the shallow.
Exactly.
And that's interesting. Right here in the same Panhandle, we have that kind of brim fishing and then this kind of brim fishing. I always thought it.
And I got a kayak year before last, I guess it was, from Brad. And I'm going to start, or have started, I'm going to fish River Pond up there at Highway 20, and some of the ponds in the water management area.
Good.
So I'm going to try some of those. Hopefully, I got to get turkeys out of the way.
we got a turkey coming up and all. I know, first of all, the association, organization, we had to skip this past year because of the COVID, 2 years.
Skip 2 years.
Skipped 2 years.
2 years. A banquet.
Yeah, the banquet will be coming up later on.
We're going to try to have it again this August, and just like every year, but we got knocked in the head 2 years running now, and had to cancel the last August, you know, a day before.
I know.
Which was hard.
Yeah.
But the organization had their convention Nashville 2 weekends ago.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to go, but I heard there was over 50,000 people over the 3 or 4 days. So it was a good convention. This coming year, or next year, next February, will be our 50th.
Oh man.
So that convention is supposed to be over the top.
That's going to be a big one. That's going to be huge.
It's 50th, and they're planning for it already.
Wow.
So.
And you were able to go last week or week before last to the Holmes County.
Saturday night.
Yes.
Went to the Holmes County banquet, which was put on by Matthew Grantham. And first one there in 3 years probably, and maybe longer. And they did a really good job, had a real good crowd. I think they raised some money, and we had a fun time. Oh,
that sounds great. All right, we're going to, now Ken brought something to give away, so we're going to talk about that later, but also we're going to talk about as we get ready for gobbler season right around the corner, so we've got all kinds of good things coming up. But let's take a break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, folks. Sitting here with Ken Paramore, former. How did you get up with FWC? Captain?
Yep.
Captain, retired Captain Ken Paramore, who had. Do you ever think about writing a book on all the FWC experiences?
Yeah.
I know you had some amazing experiences.
The problem is you can't remember enough, and I don't have the time or probably the ability, but there was a time I kept all my reports and all my tickets. I had boxes of tickets that I'd written, the officer's copy. You know, I had all that stuff for years, and now you unless something triggers your brain to something that you see or you've forgotten. Oh, I completely forgot about.
I understand
that guy or what that case was, and So unless you do really good documentation and notes from particularly when I started, you know, we didn't have ways of documenting. We didn't take pictures. We had nothing to take pictures with. And if we did, it was Polaroids that, you know, the zzz thing that came out, or the kind you take to the developing place. And we just didn't do a lot of that unless it was for evidence. And then we'd call or get somebody with a 35 to take some. And, you know, nowadays, all these guys and girls that work for us, the phones are, you know, and the phones take good pictures nowadays. So we didn't have all that then. And I think the key to writing a good book, all of us have stories. I mean, you know, especially when you do it forever, is documentation. And when you don't have it, you try to go by memory and you leave out so much. Or
well, I tell you what, between now and next time you come on, try to sit down and recollect some of those stories and just jot down some notes. And when you come back on next time, just tell a couple of stories. You don't have to use names and all, but I know some of them got to be sticking. You know, some of them up here at that level got to be, you know, still. And because even today, some of the crazy things people do.
And it seems like we always had a thing in our discussions that sometimes it just comes off like that person I was meant to catch him that day, because there's so many external circumstances that have to line up in order for you to be in that spot and him to be doing or her to be doing what they were doing, and have it come together like, wow, how did that happen? Well, somebody's tired of that activity. Right. You know what I mean?
It's just meant to be.
Yeah, anyway.
Okay, all right. Here's something I know you can talk about talking turkey.
Talking turkey. Well, Kenny Bostic's show the other day with you kind of got me inspired more so, because I knew it was right around the corner, but I hadn't really, and those pictures that he had, and of course he's a great guy, as you know, and then the calls that he had and his experiences, and you know, I'd love to have a place like he has to be able to go to and spend, you know, the entire month or whatever, and good for him for doing that. But all of us, you know, love to turkey hunt, have their own little things that they like to do and how they like to do them. And I like to keep it simple. And as most people know, the market nowadays is flooded with all the accessories, all the different calls, the chairs, the blinds, the shells, you know, the ammunition, the guns are tailored to, you know, killing turkeys. And I've always been one, because I started hunting turkeys with my grandfather when I was like 14 or 15. My dad didn't turkey hunt, but my grandfather did. So he took me in, and when I got able to drive, it already in my blood by going with him. So then I took him, you know, and I drove.
Oh, cool.
And we hunted, you know, management areas down in South Florida, and we hunted up here. And so in those days, you know, you hunted turkeys with some high brass number 4s on the oldest shotgun that you could find or somebody owned. They were always, you know, there weren't no synthetic stocks, and they were all wood. And you had some basic turkey calls, and you know, scratch boxes and that sort of thing. And so I've always stayed that way. I don't need the latest and greatest bullet. If I could kill a turkey with a 2 3/4 inch shell, then I can kill him with a 2 3/4 now. And now, of course, we have 3 inch and 3 1/2, and I don't need to reach out to 60. And this is just a me thing, you know. To each his own. I don't need to, you know. I want him closer than 60 yards, or I want that challenge. Still using I do have a newer version of shotgun, but for years I hunted with an 870 pump with a 30-inch barrel, and still have it. And I hate to go now without it, because it's so used to going with me, you know. So, and the same thing with the calls. Basic calls will work, and I'll tell you a story about this call right here.
Okay, let's take a break now. So we'll get on the story. We're going to do these stories, but also we're going to do a big giveaway when we come right back. So hang in there. Okay, welcome back. Let's take a quick look at our fishing game times today, brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers in Port St. Joe. We're looking at 9:10 to 11:10 this morning, at 9:34 to 11:34 tonight. Now we got to move along. We'll get Ken these war stories. We'll get behind. So,
Yeah.
so tell us about it.
Yeah, we could have a week's worth of war stories.
I know it. So tell us about your calls.
We're talking about calls real quick. To each his own on calls. I know Kenny had his on, and they're all some old standbys. And I'll tell you a story about this one. This one's what they call a push pin. And what I like about, and I didn't know if I was going to like this one at all, but this one was in a clearance bin in a bait and tackle store, mixed in with a bunch of lures 10, 15 years ago.
Wow.
And it was for $5.
Oh my goodness.
And so I said, well, I don't know anything about it, but because I've always used a box call. I'm not good with diaphragm calls because it doesn't feel right in my mouth. I do use some pot calls, slate calls, but I took this one home and tried it. Well, folks, this call right here that cost me $5 has probably killed 15 plus turkeys.
Oh my goodness.
In conjunction sometimes with some other ones. But I couldn't believe how it sounded when I got it home. And you can see the marks. I mean, I've used it. But the coolest thing I like about it is if he's coming and he's in range and my gun's on my knee, I can hold the gun and all I have to do is use my finger to get him closer rather than having to do this with both hands or this. And that's not a turkey, but you get the idea. You're using both hands, and then your gun, if your gun is up to the ready, you can't, it's hard to hold with your knee and have it from falling off or whatever. So when it gets close, I use, and I'm sold on a push pin now, because I can use one finger and not have a bunch of movement. And then when he gets in range, I set it down and I come up and it's all in one motion. So,
are you always in a ground blind? Is that what you try to do, or you sometimes in
I backed up against a tree.
Tree?
Yeah. Now I have used them.
Do you ever get up in a stand like a deer?
No.
You never get up.
Never done
You all
that.
stay level.
Now I have a chair, a little turkey hunting chair that I carry with me that's low to the ground, and I'll put it up against a tree. A lot of times, if you're trying to go to one and you got some room to roam, you don't have time to do a lot of setup. And sometimes they'll surprise you and be so close that you got to sit down right now. So you just find a tree or something you can get behind, and because you might have gotten too close or you misjudged how far the gobble was, so you got, and it's, oh crap, he's right there, you know. And so I just sit down wherever. There's not a lot of setup and prep with me. It's, if I hear him, I'll try to go to him and sit down.
The natural
But
way.
from $5 from a clearance bin to this one here is like $125, which is custom made and it's got a bunch of woodwork. These are about 50 or 60 if you get a good slate call or a pot call, they call them. I like these two. But this is pretty much my arsenal if I'm going, is one slate call. If you got a box call, you want to get a holster for it because it'll make noise when you're walking without a holster. And then of course, I don't know what I'm gonna do if I ever lose that one. I'm gonna have to find another one.
Okay, okay, that's great. We got to finish up on that, but we got some good stuff to give away. What do you got?
Well, you've started the year with, we're gonna do spur of the moment drawing, right? I mean, you're gonna just do them instead of something planned. So I put together a goodie bag and we're gonna draw for it today.
Okay.
What we're
The bag itself though, I mean the bag
itself is a NWTF duffel.
Heavy duty.
Yep. We're gonna have a hat in it. Lo and behold, we found a push pin.
No way.
Not the same kind, but it's a push pin. And have a slate call. We're going to have a Bay County Longbeards shirt.
Cool.
And we're gonna have an NWTF, new NWTF magazine to hopefully garner some new memberships.
All right.
So we're gonna draw for that today.
And I just happen to have
a turkey hunting package.
That's a great package right there. And I happen to have the pickle jar with me in Studio B. Sometimes
If you don't turkey hunt, maybe you'll know somebody that does.
oh yeah, and a lot of times it's better to give than receive.
And if they don't want it, you can recycle and you can do it again in a week or two.
And we'll put you, if you don't want it, we'll put your name back in here, and we'll give it away to somebody that does. Okay, I'm gonna stir them up, Ken. You're gonna draw the name, and all right, there you go. Pick out
I'm
one name.
I'm going to the bottom.
Okay.
There it is.
All right, who do you have there? From Chipley,
David
Spence.
Spence from Chipley.
David Spence from Chipley, and that's Washington County. And,
Ought to be a turkey up there.
I'll guarantee you some turkeys up there. And all. Ken, thank you for bringing that. That's some really good stuff.
You're welcome.
And all. And we're about to run out of time. We've got about 30 seconds.
Well, you know, we couldn't have a banquet the last 2 years, so we did have some items, and we did do some drawings and some giveaways for our sponsors. We hope to have one this August again. And we have an all-new banquet package this year.
Okay. We got to come back on and talk about all that.
Yep.
We'll definitely come back on between now and then. We got to get out here, folks. Thank you all for watching Panhandle Outdoors. Appreciate the viewership. Appreciate folks like Captain Ken Paramore that help us out. You do something good today for someone else, and God bless.
God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.